slides. We're going to be looking at slides. So there's a few first meetup or first time coming to Runway East for the first timers. Yes. Okay, so I'm hoping I can give you a good experience. So let's crack on with the slides. So this talk was meant to be understanding the magic behind data loading in SvelteKit. Now, the reason why, so excuse me as well if I'm jiggling about, I'm a walker. The reason why, obviously, that is a lot more clickbaity than that. And that's a bit of a mouthful. But this is the point I want to get across during this talk. And we'll come on to this. Let's talk about me, though, because, you know, as Thomas has just said, I am an ambassador for Svelte, which I haven't actually put on there. I organised the Svelte London meetup, so I was just having very fond conversations of all the things that can go wrong at a meetup, especially food turning up on time and stuff like that. I've hosted many a workshop for getting familiar with Svelte and SvelteKit, and this is my first week as an application team lead for a company called ExtendOps, and that is a very big SvelteKit project, massive on a repo. So I am in heaven at the moment, getting to work on a SvelteKit project at scale. I'm a dad. I'm also a cat dad, so that's important. My clicker decided to stop working, so try again. No? Okay. Oh. Okay. We were talking about this as well, weren't we? This is yeah. Brilliant. Fantastic. Okay, so let's just try load this up again. I'm going to have to go off here. Yay! Okay, so start presenting. Oh, everything's gone. Okay. Oh yeah. Oh, so everything's just died. Okay. I just crashed. Is that me or is that? It's definitely me. It's definitely me. Yeah, it's definitely me. Okay. So let's present my screen.
It's not been the venue's fault yet.
Pretty goody. Well done, Scott. Cool.
Great.
All right. So I can flip back to my imaginary notes. So, right. So that ruins my joke anyway. So I'm not going to share a picture of my family because for obvious operational security reasons. Here are my cats. And then after my cats, we're going to take a look at my trip to Paris. No, I'm joking. So, right, Boris, Leo, and Darcy, they're all about 10 years old. And recently we got 2 other cats, which is Barney and Jade. And they are adorable. And then Barney was on my shoulder the other day while I was helping me do some code pairing, let's say. So, as I said, I organised the Svelte London meetup. Probably not September now. We'll probably go do it in October. We had a social in, excuse me, we had a social in September on this Tuesday. We usually try to do one every month. But anyway, understanding the magic behind data loading in SvelteKit. But before we do that, we need to talk about Svelte. So, literally just picked up my drink and put it back down again. What is Svelte? So, Svelte is a component framework. So this means you write components for your code. It means you can write stuff declaratively. We'll come on to that in a second. there's no virtual DOM. This is one of the main selling points of Svelte. There is no, there's no DOM diffing if you change anything which is in a large list, let's say. Makes it a lot more performant. It's a compiler, also one of the USPs of Svelte. This means everything that gets shipped to the browser is ESM modules, the holy trinity of the web, basically. JavaScript, HTML, and markup. So JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. And it's older than you might think. V1 was released in 2016. There was a great talk from Rich Harris for Svelte v3, which is called Rethinking Reactivity. And we'll come on to that in the slides in a bit. But the V1 release, I think v3 was where a lot of the stuff changed. And if you've been following Svelte for a while, stuff doesn't stay the same for very long. It changes quite a bit. But if you just Google Rethinking Reactivity by Rich Harris, it was done in 2020, I think. It's a great talk. I'm going to be coming on to some of the bits he's mentioned in that talk just to explain bits about Svelte. But first, let's talk about what a framework is. So it allows you to write declarative code. That means you say you're telling the browser what you want the outcome to be, rather than giving it precise instructions. So let's take a look at some imperative code. So this is typically what you would give a browser in vanilla JavaScript, let's say. So we've got our very imaginatively named component here, which is just going to show a count in a button. So in the browser, we need to tell the browser to create an element for the button, and we want the text to show our variable count. And obviously, when it's clicked, we need to add an event listener for that as well, so we can update the count in the button text there. And then we're going to return that, and that's that. So declarative. So this is that same code in Svelte. So a lot more succinct. We going through it again. We're just going to add our count to our variable here, and we're using this on-click directive to inline increment our count number, and then we're going to put that into the button text. So a lot less goes into what you're putting into a framework, where you just say what you want rather than give it very specific instructions. React. This is the same code in React, so let's just go back here. 7 lines, React, 9 lines. Who's familiar with React? Okay, good. So do you notice there's something wrong with that return statement? There's no parenthesis on that. That's because I was trying to make it succinct without stepping through the code, Scott. So you could just put it on a one-liner. So we've got 7 lines there. So, but I know I could do the same thing with our Svelte component. So as you can see, it's a lot more succinct. You write less code, and hopefully, me going through the rest of these slides, you can get a good feel for how that would happen. This is the last comparison we're going to do with Svelte and React, but that's that same button. That same button in Svelte and in React. So when I say they, I've heard that you write generally 40% less code, and that doesn't look like 40% less code. I also hear that 99% of statistics are made up on the spot. So, but you can say it's a lot more succinct with what you want to do. Okay, understanding the magic behind data loading. So rather than just jump straight into SvelteKit, which is where the data loading happens, we're going to need to talk about some basics in Svelte. So this is the primer bit. Svelte is a HTML superset. We're going to talk about styling, reactivity, and component props, and rendering logic in Svelte. So first up, it's a HTML superset. So this means anything which is valid HTML markup, which is in the HTML spec, you can put straight into a Svelte file, and it will be all fine and dandy. I'd be very happy. Oh, does everyone like my slides, by the way? just devoid of anything which is like artistic or anything like that. I just want to get the point across. I find if I spend too much time making them look nice, I don't actually put any content in for the talk. And you just see I just picked up my drink again, didn't actually sip any of it. Sorry. Okay, so it's the HTML superset. Right, this is the basic anatomy of a Svelte file, a Svelte page, or a Svelte component. You'd have your script tag at the top, where you can put in any JavaScript you want to use in your markup. In the middle, you'd have your markup. At the bottom, you'd have your style. So there was a time when the style and the script tag were at the top and the markup was at the bottom. But then Prettier came along, decided, no, we're going to put it at the bottom now. So, you know, I'll just do what Prettier tells me to do now. So that's the basic layout of a Svelte component. So how you would style in Svelte is very much how you would do it in a .html file. You'd have your markup, and then inside your style tags, we're going to target this paragraph tag here, and we're going to use Comic Sans and give it a font size 2M. And of course, we don't have to use the style tags. We could use Tailwind and do exactly the same thing and take up less space in our code editor. Exactly the same thing, but just using Tailwind now. So reactivity. Got to do it this time. Right. So reactivity in Svelte. Reactivity is generally when you want when a variable is changed, you want another variable to react on that. So you're probably looking at this code thinking, what is that? We're going to come to that in a bit. Just for now, I'm just going to say this is a doubled variable. So each time count changes, doubled is going to read count equals count times 2. We're abstracting our handle click into a function here, and then we're just going to assign it to our on-click handler in our button. And then we're just going to do a bit of, logic for if it's been clicked once or many times. And then, incrementing our count. In our p tag, we're going to have our doubled changing each time. So, clicks once, it's going to be 2, twice, it's going to be 4, and so on. Excuse me. Oh, that pizza was nice. Okay, so what was that? What was that? Does that look familiar to anyone? Okay, good. So you use Svelte? Okay, cool. Right. Yeah. So that is valid JavaScript. Well, not entirely. It's just the colon. So the $: it's not a very well-known piece of JavaScript which the community knows about. So the Svelte core team decided to co-opt this and use it for reactivity. This is because the Svelte compiler needs to compile valid JavaScript. So this was a good option. This is why the core team decided to co-opt it and use it for reactivity. So you can find it on Mozilla. You can take a picture if you like, or just search for label on NDN and you'll find it, no problem. Anyway, moving on. So are there gotchas with this reactivity? And there are. So you can't use mutation methods on it. It works on assignment. So rather than do our numbers.push here, we're going to just spread the numbers back into the array again. You could do like numbers equals numbers, but numbers equals numbers plus 1, but it just doesn't look right. So just do it like that, and you'll be good. Okay, logic. So this is mainly rendering logic. So there's if, else, each, and await in Svelte. So a logic block, we're going to come on to them, but this is like a templating language in your markup. So you have some curly boys, curly braces. Thanks to Cassie Evans, call them curly boys. Where you'd open up an operation, a logic operation with that. If you want to continue it, you'd use a colon, and you'd close it with the /. So let's take a look at that for an if. So you'd have, if, and then whatever your expression is, put stuff in there. So let's take a look at, there's a lot of buttons in this talk. There's pretty much everything that's in here actually, all based around buttons. But anyway, so we've got our user. If our users, they can log in or log out. Over on the other side here, we're just going to wrap these in an if block. So if the user is logged in, we're going to show them the button so that they can log out. And because the condition from 15 to 19 there isn't being met, it doesn't get rendered. So it's not in the DOM at all. Okay, so else. Yeah, so same again, do stuff or do else stuff. And this is just our same example again, but instead of having 2 if blocks, we can just put these, use our continuation key there, and we're just going to say if else. There you go. Saved a couple of lines of code. Brilliant.
Does it handle? I'm guessing it's interpreting as just JavaScript. So if user doesn't find, it's going to throw an error in the template. So it's going to throw a runtime error. So you can't access.
So if user's undefined and you're trying to access logged in property of it, is it going to throw
Yes.
a runtime error
Yes.
on the JavaScript side?
Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
So,
Okay.
you need to have good tests in place, I guess.
Yeah.
For that sort of stuff. It's be, the sort of thing you would have. These are very contrived examples.
No, yeah, just wondering.
Yeah. It's just to get the point across. But yeah, absolutely. You'd have some error handling around that just to make sure that doesn't happen. Okay, so each, like most of web development, is just rendering out lists of stuff. So each is used by me all the time. Now, I changed this from Twitterers to X's, and then when I was reading it back earlier, it was like the worst thing to try and read out. So sorry in advance. So we've got our array or our array-like object here. And then we're going to say each x's, wish I never put this in there, as x. So you're defining, a part of that which you're going to use in your loop. That comma I there is just so we can increment up. You can also use like brackets for if you want to have like a keyed block. So if anything changes in there, it will update for you. Anyway, so we're just going to loop through each one in. We're going to add in the handle to the to this A tag here and put their name in. Right, we'll move on from that because I realised it was a terrible mistake after I read it out loud earlier. Okay, so await. If we've got some asynchronous code we want to run in our Svelte project, which has to go off and hit a server somewhere, get some information, we can use await just to go off. We've got our function here. This is actually from the Svelte tutorial. So yeah, I am absolutely terrible at making my own content as well. Just steal stuff, Scott. It's a lot simpler. So when that button is clicked, we're going to go off, create a promise for that. And while we're waiting for that promise to resolve, we're just going to display a loading spinner to the client to say no stuff's happening before resolving. So the continuation here is when that's resolved, we're going to give them what they want, which is a number, or we're going to display an error. Okay, everyone okay on Svelte so far?
I've only briefly looked at Svelte, but it seems like as opposed to something like React, it seems like an extension on top of JavaScript, and this feels like more of an abstraction away from it, which in some ways maybe why the first time I looked at it, I was like, this is bloody great. It's just nice. It's more simple in my brain.
Yes.
The time was getting into learning React a couple of years ago or something like that.
Yeah. So I would say the cognitive overhead for picking up Svelte is lower. I wouldn't say a lot lower, but it's lower people managed to grok it a lot quicker. The company I work for, they brought on React developers, and they were able to onboard them a lot faster with SvelteKit, or sorry, with Svelte, so they can understand stuff. It's very concise. You can sort of, understand what's happening, relatively easily. Cool. So now we are all experts in Svelte. Let's talk about SvelteKit. So SvelteKit is a meta framework which gives you, web development best practices out of the box, straight off the marketing headline. That we get a router. It's server side by default, but you can do client side rendering as well. It's configurable. Excuse me. You get page preloading. We'll come on to that in a bit. We'll take a look at some data loading. And hot module reloading, thanks to Vite. Yes, not Vite. Because, bit of a tangent, apparently Vue is pronounced wrong. So I'll see the irony there. And apparently Svelte is meant to be pronounced Svelte. But I just read it how I see it, first of all, and then it just sticks like that forever. So it's Vite. To me, anyway. Anyway, so yeah, Svelte is to SvelteKit what React is to Next.js and Vue is to Nuxt. It's a framework on top of a framework, which gives you all of the nice bells and whistles. So let's talk about understanding the magic behind data loading in SvelteKit. But before that, I want to talk about the curse of knowledge. So I was talking to Tom about this earlier. Not about the curse of knowledge, about the situation which came, which this talk came from, essentially. And this is just me trying to redeem myself from what happened. So the curse of knowledge is, you're biased. You think the person you're speaking to knows exactly what you're talking about, but they don't. And that's bad. So this happened in a Svelte workshop in March this year. And it was a short workshop, 2 hours. So I had to cram a lot in. So I was going through stuff quite fast. And one of the attendees was like, what is this data thing? Where's it coming from? How does it work? And I was a bit sidetracked at the time. So I had to sort of sit down and explain it. They were quite happy with the explanation. And we sort of carried on with the rest of the workshop. We had about 45 minutes left, and I wasn't even halfway through. But that spurred me on to write a very long blog post on data loading in SvelteKit, which is pretty much what this talk is. Anyway, before we talk about data loading, let's talk about routing in SvelteKit. So, pre-SvelteKit V1, around August last year, this was how you would make your index file for a Svelte site. If you wanted to have an about page, you'd call it about.svelte. So around August time, this changed to this plus page, this plus file notation. It's not just plus page, there's other files as well. But a lot of people got mad when this happened. I thought it was great, and I'm going to explain why I think it's great. But essentially, with the old routing, you could co-locate your server-side calls with your client-side stuff. With this new approach now, or the actual approach, means that your concerns are separated out. So if you have data to load into your project, you do that via a plus page.ts file. But if you wanted to have an about page, I just realized it's the wrong slide. If you wanted to have an about page, you'd have a folder with an about page and a plus page file in that. Me saying plus page plus X gets really difficult. So bear with me, sorry. Okay, so here we are. If you wanted to load any data, you do that in a page.ts file. So this is where you can load your data in Svelte. And we're going to come onto this, and this is like the whole basis of the talk. So hopefully I can sort of transfer some of this knowledge to you and you get some good takeaways from this. So there's a few plus files. I'm not going to go through what each one does. Hopefully you can get an idea. Page.server means you can get server information for the page before the page loads. A page, just plus page.ts or JS file will load the data for you, client side, and then put that onto the page before it loads. I put a brief explanation of each one of them. So if you want to understand what each one does, take a picture now, or go to scottspence.com, something data loading in Svelte, and you'll find it on there. It's quite recent. I did it back in March. Anyway, less of me plugging my site. Let's take a look at component props. So, not data, but hopefully it's going to sort of lend into how it works. So, if you want to pass props to a component in Svelte, we use this export let, and then we're just defaulting this name variable to world. But this means that this component can now take a name prop, and it's just displaying that. So we can use that in a page, or we could use it in another component. I wouldn't recommend it, but we just put it onto a page. We're going to import our component here. The $lib is an alias, so like the @ in Next.js, same sort of thing, just aliased to the source lib directory there. And we're going to say hello Svelte in our component. So hoping that, understanding how we're going to move data around inside components and pages helps for the next bit, which is this. So if we want to add some data to our page, we can have our plus page.ts or JS file. I've gone full on with TS now since, I don't know, August last year. And looking at JS stuff just feels a bit weird now, even though it's not that different. Anyway, another tangent, sorry. Right, so in this plus page.ts file, as I said, it gets really tedious saying plus page, plus whatever. I'm just going to return some data here with the key title. And then in our plus page.svelte, we can receive the data as a prop from that load function. So they have a reserved variable name for a page. And then the information that comes in here, we're just going to JSON stringify the data, and that's going to, bump out our key and our value. If we wanted to, access the title from that data, we could just do it like that. So very simply, that's how you do data loading in Svelte. Very simply. So I feel that I have to, illustrate how the information moves about in between props. There's also a form variable for pages as well. So if you are submitting form data on a page, that can go off to either your page.server file, probably to be on a server, submit that data, and then you could pass that back to the page here, and then that'll tell you if it was successful, give you all the information you need from there. Anyway, yeah, so that's what our output's going to be from that component. All right. I'm hoping that was enough, but how long have I been talking for? 30 minutes, jeez. I'm hoping that's given you enough of an idea, but I can go through some practical examples, which is why I've got this stool here, so I can sit at my computer and go through some code examples. So does everyone want to see some examples of this stuff in action? All right, cool. Right, I'm going to put my clicker down. I'll bring my drink over here. And I like the fact as well I'm an honorary organizer this evening. So I'm going to have to take my glasses off. And where are my settings? Here they are. So rather than me put my code editor up there and try and crane my neck around, I'm just going to join these displays together. Okay, so now you should see my settings. And open up a terminal. And okay. Okay.
Stop sharing and start again.
Oh yeah, because I've joined them together, haven't I? Yeah, I'll do that. Oh,
Yeah, but it wasn't, for some reason it just wasn't labeled.
okay. So can I just stop sharing this?
Yeah, that's it.
So we're going to get a bit of streamception going on now. There we go. Cool. Right, so data, no, oh God, load, no, everyone's looking at my history. All right, here we go. Nothing incriminated, Oh, right, sorry. We're going to watch VS Code download and install. Okay, so release notes, thank you. So I don't use this laptop very often, so apologies if it's just initialized everything. What we'll do while we're here though, we'll look at my VS Code settings. Why? Because I use this autosave function here, which means that because Vite is so super duper fast, you can sort of save stuff on the fly. So if I just do npm run dev here, and then open up a browser.
So it's Vite the package of dev server.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe here? No? Where's? Oh, I totally lost there we go. Right. Sorry, hang on, let's change this to something less garish. Nervous laughter. Let's try something here. Let's change this to night. Is that better? Can we see that? Okay. Right. So let's put this in here like this. So this is a really simple project where what is this? I mean, it's a test, obviously, but I don't know why it's in there. So this is a really simple project where it hits two APIs. It hits the CoinLaw API, which is a REST API, and it hits the Rick and Morty GraphQL API. Completely unrelated bits of information. But they're just my go-to when I need to have an example of hitting an endpoint. So let's take a look at our coins route here. So we've got our page. So if I go over to, go over to coins here. This is just going to load up each one of the sections for what's come out of the currency here. So you can see that I'll put this into its own function, and I'm calling this as the return here. I'll come on to that in a second. This is, you can do like parallel runs, or if you don't want to use promise all, you can just do stuff in parallel. Come on to that in a second. Anyway, we're just going off and we're getting the tickers here and displaying them for each one of these items here. Now, the Wi-Fi is quite good here, so every time I click on one of these, it's getting the information quite quickly. If I go back again from here, and do we want to look at the waterfall next? Hang on. Right, so on the client side here, and I don't know why I've got this declaration in here, because it's a TypeScript file, I don't need that. I am using the load function. I'm putting in this public token here. This is just so I can illustrate getting data on the client and on the server. So if I go to the dev window here and go to the console, is this is Firefox, and I think I should have this one open, which is, here we go. Right. Localhost 5173. Oh, is it hot in here? Is it me? Whew. Whew. Right, okay. Let's go back here, open up the dev console. It's the thing when you don't use your computer daily, you get all these annoying pop-ups for all the cool features the browsers are trying to sell you. Right, I want, where's the console? Oh, so they're in like icons now. Okay, cool. So anyway, you saw when I hovered over that there, this public token was shown before I actually clicked on the link. That's because we're using a directive from SvelteKit, which allows you to preload the data. So if any anchor tag in your project is linking to a load function, so like a plus page file here, or if the page has a plus page with a load function in it, it'll go off and run that before you click on the button. So let's just hit the refresh on this and go to the network, which is this one, I guess. Right, let's clear this out. So if I go hover over this coins here, you can see that it went off and got, I'm guessing it's this one. Nope. Oh, tickets, here it is. Right, that's the data. So it's gone off and got that. So as soon as I click on it, it appears to be instantaneous. Anyway, so this is the client side. If we go back to the terminal, which is here, and we run this again in the console, come on. Right, we get, this is a public token, and we should also have that in my dev server, but I haven't. Okay, let's gloss over that for now. But it should show on both the client and the server. If we have some sensitive information we don't want to be intercepted on the client, then we can use a page.server file, which is this one here. So it's exactly the same thing. Don't worry about that fetch red squiggly line. It's gone. So we've got our secret token here. So now the public token shows up now. Okay, great. So now that secret token, which is page.server here, so if I hover over it, there's nothing shown in here. When I click on it, there's nothing shown in there, but I get the secret token here. So this is how you separate out your server-side stuff from your client-side, which I think is great. So some other stuff I think we should go over is this waterfall. So if we go to the code in here, and we look at what we've got going on. So this is a call to the Rick and Morty API, the Rick and Morty GraphQL API. This is going off, getting all the characters and returning them as characters in this data prop, and we're returning that, and then we're doing something very similar and a lot smaller for the coin law API. So the thing with this though is that it will run them in sequence here. So it'll run the currencies first, I believe, and then the Rick and Morty one. So if we go back here and go back to the network, clear this out, and then just do a hard refresh and clear that out again, actually. And then we go over to waterfall. I'm not sure how well we could see this. Maybe I could bump it up. Bump, bump, bump. Maybe it's a bit too big there. But you can see that we've got, right, I can't hover the mouse over it, but I'm hoping you can see in the bottom left there, we've got them happening like one after the other. So we could just wrap them in a promise all, or we could do what I did here, which is put them in a parallel. So we're wrapping up each one in their own function here, and then passing those into our return for the page.ts file. And of course, we could just put them in a promise all, like we've got in here. Same again, it's the same boilerplate, but then, oh no, it's all wrapped in one promise all here. Okay, so I was going to do form stuff, but I haven't actually done any of it. So I was going to put some examples for forms in here, but I haven't. But it'd be the same sort of thing. With a form, it uses the web standard. So you'd have the default method, which would be post. That would go off, submit the information to to your server endpoint, and in there you can either have you can handle it with like an event handler, or you can use an action in SvelteKit. So actions are pretty cool. You get like a default action in a page.server.ts file. You can have a default action in there. So anything which is triggered from that form could be handled by that and returned back to the client. And the good thing with that as well is because they're separated, it means you don't have to have JavaScript on your client either. Okay, so I think that's it for the demo.